What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing something slightly different. I'm going to be doing a video of all the full art supporters in English and Japanese, so you guys get a full history and get a chance to look at my collection. It's something that people have been desiring for quite a while. So let's start with the folder, we'll have a quick look and then we'll look at cards in a bit more detail. Let me show you this first page. I've got the signed cards obviously from the Japanese promos recently, but I've got my own full art supporter card as well as a couple of my very good friends in the community, Dorabazuru, Sarah and Brayish Gaming, Ryan. So yeah, we've got those on the first page. We'll move on to the next page and I'll quickly show you guys a glimpse of how I've set my folder out. So looking at the first page, we've got the Japanese cards all on this side in numerical order as to when they were released. In English, this is. I changed things up when we got to Sword and Shield and stuck to Japanese release dates, but I did it in this order because with Japanese cards, it's very easy to determine when they were released simply by looking at the bottom corner and what order they were released in, because the set numbers are all numerically and easily comparable. So as you can see, going through the pages, I have got every single card that has ever been released in English, and I'm missing a few in Japanese. The main one is obviously a Lily, which I did purchase but never turned up, and the order got cancelled. So I've got a proxy, I've got a Korean version in its place, and I don't think I'll be getting the Japanese version anytime soon because of the price it currently is. But other than that, I've got every single set full art supporter in English and Japanese, so I'm very happy about that up until where we are today. Now, Rapid Strike and Single Strike have come out in Japanese. I have secured every single full art supporter for those, but I haven't actually received all of them. So this folder is going to be every set up until Shiny Star V, which was S4A in Japanese, and every English set up to Vivid Voltage. As you can see, the Pokemon Center Lady here being the last card, and the Vivid Voltage cards just there as well. Interestingly enough, that's where we end in English, so that's all the English cards. I also have the Rainbow Rare, Hyper Rare versions of every single card that's ever been released as well. And as you can see, I have got a couple of them which I have pulled, spoiler alert, for some videos that might not have been released when this comes out, but there you go. I've got another Korean card, which is Karina, which I've kept on a separate page. And then we have all the cards that have never been released in English. It's only released in Japan. Some of these are proxies in here. So for example, these two cards here, I wish I'd purchased them at the time when I first started collecting. They were about $50 each then, 5,000 yen. Now they're a ridiculous price. Same with the Mask Royal here. Picking up a raw card ungraded was about, I would say, a few £100 at the time. This card's now going in for about £60,000 graded as a PSA 10. And the only other proxies we've got in here are Acerola and Lily, which I have got in Chinese but never obtained in Japanese. So these are the cards that are exclusive to this. So we're going to have a look at some of these in a bit more detail. So that concludes the folder look. So let's go to the desk and I'll talk through some cards and a bit about the history of where it all started. So the first card in my collection we're going to look at is the first ever full art supporter, which was N. This was released in Japan in the Red Collection, which was released July 15th, 2011. And we saw it then come into the English version of the sets in Noble Victories, which was released November 16th, 2011. Now this is going to be the first one we're going to compare, but as you can see, there is a difference in texture. So you can see the swirl there in the background. Look at the texture on N's hat, for example. The different texture in the shadowing at the bottom compared to the English one. So the only texture you see in the English one is really in the background and not really anywhere else, which is almost like a leather type effect. Whereas you have far more texturing on the Japanese, as you can see in different light as well. So there we are, that's the first card, N, which was released in There are a total of 8 different full art supporters that were released during the black and white era, and the last one, and one of my favourites, was this beautiful card Iris. It was released in Japanese in the set Megalo Cannon, which was on March the 15th, 2013, and in English we saw it in August the 14th, 2013 in Plasma Blast. As you can see, as these cards went on, you can see the texture is now more apparent in the English set, but still the Japanese set has more depth to the texture and different techniques, which is a common feature which is still seen today. With the English one, you can start to see what we, some of my friends call the cheese grater ridges in the English one, where it's a bit more fine and defined in the Japanese ones. I think Pokemon chose this, one, due to techniques of printing, but secondly around local market needs and demands, and around what they thought people would appreciate more. So there we have it. That is Iris, which was the last one in the black and white era. The XY era saw a huge explosion in full art supporter cards. There's a total of 31 released, which were also released in English, but in total in Japanese there were 34 released during the XY era, including this reprint of Skylar, which was first seen in black and white. It was released as a promo in Japan, but it was released as a set card in English. As you can see, there is still a slight difference and different design techniques and texturing for both English and the Japanese. And Skylar recently got a reprint again in Shiny Star V, which I'm sure we will see in English. This makes Skylar the first card to have got triple treatment of exactly the same wording in a card to get reprinted. So Skylar was one of those cards that's quite unique at the moment, as it has 3 different art versions that have been reprinted in black and white, XY, and the Sword and Shield era. At the end of the XY era, in Japan we got a set called the Best of XY, which saw some cards get the full art supporter treatment which had never been seen before, including this card called Shauna. We saw it in a Best of XY box that was released in English in I think it was August 2017 as well. The only card that was not a new full art supporter and a reprint was N in this series, but this particular card is one of my favourite from that set, and it really is amazing looking card by one of my favorite full art supporter artists, Nuki Saito, and always brings beautiful artwork and a colorful, vibrant style to cards. But again, you can see there is a difference in texturing between the English and the Japanese version of this card too. The Sun and Moon era, which began in 2017, brought a huge amount of new full art supporters and increased the amount of impact they had in the game as well. We had a total of 86 full art supporters released in English over the Sun and Moon period, and 105 in Japan, most of which still are exclusive to Japan and haven't been released outside. So let me show you, for example, as I said before, I don't have a Japanese version of Lily from SM4 Plus Battle Boost, but I have got a Korean version, and again there is a slight difference in texture from the English and the Japanese version, well, Korean version in this case. But there are amazing cards that were released in Japan that we never saw in English during this era, especially those from Tag Team All-Stars set, which was SM12A, that never saw an appearance outside of Japan. And these 2 cards at the back here, which again I don't have in Japanese but I do have in Chinese, which was Acerola and Lily from the Battle Tournament that was in Japan. These cards are going for ridiculous amounts of money now. I think this one's going for about $6,000 and this one's about $3,000 in Japanese, which is why they're a bit out of my price range and unobtainable for me. But Sun and Moon era definitely did deliver big time. There were so many beautiful artworks, and it still provides us with some fantastic cards that are still enjoyable. The most notable cards in this era were obviously Acerola, Guzma, Lily and Cynthia, which were hugely playable and very much in demand. So finally, moving on to the Sword and Shield era. Sword and Shield was introduced at the beginning of 2020, and it has so far produced 20 full art supporters in English in the first year and 29 in Japanese. What Sword and Shield introduced to us was obviously some fantastic artwork from some artists like Kiris Aki, who I'm a big fan of, who also did some full art supporters in the tag team era and a little bit earlier as well, but also introduced the hyper rare or rainbow rare in English versions of full art supporters as well as the 20 cards having their normal full art versions. We also got the rainbow rare, hyper rare treatment as well. As you can see on this, the texturing is a bit more matte finished, should we say, on the English, and a bit of a glossier finish on the Japanese, a bit more prominent there. But you can see again, even in these cards, there is a texture difference and a finishing difference as well. So yeah, that's where we are so far. What I'm going to do to finish this video off is we're going to go back now to the folder and I'll show you guys the cards a bit closer up and in a bit more detail.
Just